No, even though that's more recent. Why? Because that first day on the job, it was all new and different, and so it registered as an event in your mind. When you've been going for years and years and years, and it's just a random Tuesday, it doesn't register as an event, it's in this normal range. Most people's interactions stick in that normal range. And that's why you can talk to a girl and it'll be totally pleasant, she'll be totally nice, she'll be friendly, but it just doesn't go anywhere. You get like some number that just flakes later and she barely remembers who you are, or maybe she like at the end of 20 minutes, she's like, oh, nice to meet you, and leaves, right? You just didn't get outside that normal range of experience. It wasn't bad, but it just wasn't good enough to be memorable. Now, let's say that you're really complimentary. So this is, we'll call this positive and negative. So let's say that you are really complimentary, and so you're like saying these things that are like positive outside of the range of normal experience, right? So now you're gonna get noticed. You're getting noticed, and this is what I call nice guy. This is a guy that's really nice, really complimentary. The girl knows he likes her, and she appreciates it. She's flattered by it, but he's a little too obvious, and it actually becomes boring in a way too, because it's so predictable. It's so predictably positive. Also, when you're positive all the time, people may even distrust your positivity, right? If I walked in here, let's say I just came in here and you guys all know me from YouTube or from wherever, and you're like, you know, want to come see me, and I come in and I give him a really good compliment. You probably feel really good about yourself, right, at that moment. Okay, cool. Now what if I then give you a really good compliment, I give you a really good compliment, I give you a really good compliment, you a really good compliment? How do you guys feel about your compliments now that I'm complimenting everybody else in the room too? It's disingenuous, right? Just some bullshit. It wasn't actually earned, it doesn't mean anything, right? A lot of guys that are really nice like this, it comes off that way. It comes off actually like a coping strategy. It comes off like, I'm not man enough to say my mind or say anything mean to anybody, so I'm just nice to people all the time. And when those people are nice to everybody all the time, nobody even treats them as nice. Because they're just like, oh, it's disingenuous. Oh, he's just nice for an outcome. Or he's just nice to win people over or whatever, right? Funny enough though, if there's a guy who's a bit of an asshole, say you had like a dickhead boss who comes in and he's like negative to people, negative to people, negative to people, negative to people, and then one day he says, you know, that was really good work. How do you feel about when he tells you it was really fucking like really good work? It feels really good, right? It actually means more. In fact, this probably here registered for you more than all of this, okay? And so when all you do is spike positively all the time, when you're just like Mr. like, oh, I love you, you're so wonderful, oh, I like you, let's do this, let's have a date. You just become very like, you're so beautiful, I love your dress. It becomes boring, it becomes disingenuous, and actually it looks manipulative. It looks like you're doing it to get an outcome. However, when you mix it up and you show some negatives in there, when you occasionally do some negative polarity, then the positive polarity actually has meaning, right? So what you'd like to do with a girl is just have this lovey-dovey interaction where it's like, you're great, I'm great, we're great together, let's have a great time. But if you just start off doing that, it's meaningless, it's disingenuous. So you actually have to have some negative spikes in order for the positive spikes to have meaning. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess this is where it kind of comes into the whole frame and everything. It's like when you're talking to a girl, like sometimes it's like you see those positive things and obviously you talk about it, but sometimes it's like, okay, I'm not really seeing a negative to to kind of go out. Like how do you sort of generally got to be genuine instead of doing it as a button, as a technique?
Right. So there's two ways to look at it. One way to look at it is I am doing it to be genuine, like I'm doing it to make my positive mean more, if you really want to do that. The other way to do it though is I'm doing it just to play. Like, do you have good friends that you clown with? Yeah. Right? I make fun of my friends more than I make fun of strangers, for sure. Like I wouldn't bother making fun of a stranger. So the very fact of making fun of someone, doing that negative stuff, it is playful and it is the nature of the interaction, right? And so when you do tease a girl, it shouldn't be because I want to give her a negative emotion or because I want to negative spike her, manipulate her. It should be because when you do that, it is more fun for everybody. It adds more richness to like what's going on. So that's kind of how you want to be looking at it. And just look at it as like being genuinely playful. It's like, for example, have you ever been in bed with a girl and maybe like a girl probably wouldn't do this the first time you fuck her, but like you've slept with her a few times and then you know she wants it and you kind of like tease her a little bit and make her wait a little bit just because, right? Now isn't making her wait like mean? Yeah. Kinda, but it also makes it better for her too, right?
Yeah.
Right? Same thing, it's just kind of part of knowing the dance. So you're doing it as the dance and the experience, not in a manipulative way. That make sense? Right? And you can even give it right back too. You can be like, you're so beautiful. She's like, oh, I'm just fucking with you. You look awful today. No, I'm kidding. You look great. Come here, right? And hug her or whatever, right? So just giving her that roller coaster of emotions, it means more than if it's just static emotion, right? Another way of looking at it too is girls don't notice. This is kind of weird too. Girls don't notice emotion per se. They notice changes in emotion. So, and this is weird. So say that you go into a really high energy environment where the girl's having a great time, and you're having a great time too, and then it gets a little bit less great. She's probably like, okay, well, it's nice meeting you, bye, and run off, even though it's still really great. Whereas on the other hand, if you're in a really low energy environment and she's having in a really bad mood and you pick her up just a little bit, she's like, oh, this is getting better. And she's happy to stick with you, even though it's actually inherently worse than that other one was. right? Because they notice the change, they notice the difference. So you have to give them that change. If you just do this, if your set just look like this, you go to the top and go like this, it feels exactly the same as this to them. So just understand that's the communication, right? That's just how you communicate with girls. Flirtation is part of it. It's just the nature of it, right? And I mean, maybe, possibly you could get some results without flirtation if you do a lot of other things right and you have high value for other reasons and you're really attractive and good in bed or something, but like, it's pretty hard. Flirtation's a big part of game, right? So anyway, that's push-pull. And you want to have, obviously, the positives and the negatives. If you have all negatives all the time, you're just a downer. You're a terrible experience. And actually, it can work for a little bit, especially because it'll trigger a girl's sense of injustice and make her want to validate herself. But if you never give it back, eventually she'll just give up. She'll be like, okay, well, he actually just is an asshole. Or I just can't win with him, so I give up, right? So the negative spikes alone actually can work for a little bit, but at some point you have to give some positive spikes. So you have to give a little bit of encouragement, right? It's like if you, it's like if you were training it, this is a weird metaphor, but if you were training a dog to come when it's called, and like, it comes when it's called and you like feed it every time, eventually, like if you ever don't feed it, it'll stop coming when it's called because you broke the pattern. So the pattern got too boring. Whereas if you occasionally feed it when it comes and occasionally like slap it in the face, like it'll still keep coming as long as the ratio is okay. Does that make sense? It's kind of weird, but whatever. But that's positive and negative spikes, so to speak. I don't know. It's a weird metaphor.
That makes sense.
So that's push-pull. And the weird thing is, and this is a kind of a funny thing that happens with, do you guys know what classical conditioning is? Yeah? Yes? No? Classical conditioning is like, you guys heard of Pavlov's dog? So like the guy, he feeds his dog. Every time before he feeds his dog, he rings a bell. So what happens is over time, the dog learns to associate the bell with the food. So when you ring the bell, the dog starts salivating. The dog gets hungrier, right? Funny thing about that is if you every single time ring the bell and feed it, ring the bell and feed it, you train the dog to associate the two. But if you ring the bell like 5 times in a row and don't feed it, it will learn that the pattern is broken and it'll just stop coming. But if you like ring the bell and feed it like 60% of the time, but not all the time, like sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, more often than not you do, then if you don't feed it 5 times in a row, it'll still keep coming for much longer once you've stopped because it knows that sometimes you don't. It doesn't feel the break in the pattern. Does that make sense? And that's actually what push-pull does as well, is it is kind of addictive. Like people are addicted to variable payouts. That's why people gamble too. That's why like sometimes I win, sometimes I lose when I pull the slot machine. It's why it's so addictive, is that variable payout. It makes it unpredictable. So that also helps too. You're kind of like addicting a girl to the experience a little bit. All right, so that's push-pull. The other one, is it this way? How far back is this one? Damn. Oh yeah, and the last one is disqualification. Disqualification is actually when you do the opposite of what a low-value guy would do. So a low-value guy would try and convince the girl all the reasons he's good for her. Right? I'm good for you because I'm, tall and smart and have good grades and I make good money and I work out really hard. And as soon as you're trying to convince somebody of something, you're automatically in a low-value frame. As soon as you're selling, you're lower value than if you're the decider. Okay? So anytime you're qualifying yourself, you're of low value. So the opposite of that is if you're disqualifying yourself. Right? So if you say to a really hot girl, you and I won't get along. A real true 10, how often does she genuinely hear that from someone? Not very often. The only time she ever hears it is if it's from like a pickup guy, and most of them are uncalibrated, so it usually comes off weird, right? So basically, like she's not hearing that. She's not getting the disqualification. And so when you do disqualify, what are you saying? You're saying, I have so much abundance that I'm willing to lose this interaction. And when you're talking to a really hot girl, that doesn't happen for her. It truly sets you apart, because the only guys that are abundant enough to be willing to lose a hot girl are the guys that are in that 1% that have all the hot girls, right? So by the nature of pushing her away, you're conveying you're exactly the type of guy she wants. On top of which, you're giving her a reason to want to take action. So you're motivating action and convincing her you're that really high value guy. So that's why disqualification works. And push-pull has that same nature, because push-pull, it's not a full disqualification, but the negative spike, the negative polarity is a disqualifier, okay? So this is conveying high value, okay? I see some confused faces right now, so does anybody have questions on that? I feel like there are a couple. Yeah, everybody gets it? Cool, awesome. Okay, so push-pull and disqualification. These are excellent outer game tactics that also are pretty much, they work in any situation. There's some outer game tactics that are very situational. They work in this case, don't work in that other case. These are extremely generalizable, and if you do them, you will get tremendous results. So talk loud virtually always. Statements, not questions, or at the very least, convey your personality and sort of introduce your frame rather than trying to get into hers, right? Assume the bird and convey who you are. Lead. Lead, lead, lead. Even if it's pointless, even if you don't know where you're going, lead. All right, there's an infield that I used to show a lot where basically I'm taking a girl on a date. I met her in the park. I'm taking her on a date, and she's asking where it is. And I'm like, oh, it's just there. It's just there and there. And then I get up. I'm on the phone, and I get up and start walking, right? And I had no idea where we were going. None. I actually had found this place on the map, but we're in the middle of this park, and I didn't know which way north, south, east, or west was. So I know like it's here on the map. We're in the park, but I don't know which direction out of the park to go. But instead of sitting there and like being like, oh, well, I'm not sure which direction. Where should I go? Let me think about it and figure it out. I'm just like, oh no, it's this way. Come on. And I start walking. Turns out we walked the completely wrong way out of the park. And then after we got out of the park, I'm like, so which way is north? And they're like, that way. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So we just go that way and that way. Meanwhile, I'd gone directly south, right? But the point was, it didn't matter that I didn't know where I was going. It didn't matter that I led the wrong direction and had to turn around. It was the act of leading and being sure of myself that convinced her it was okay. Okay? So leading for its own sake has value. Frame control. Get into good frames and make sure your frame control is subtle. We'll talk a lot about this one tomorrow. This is going to be huge for tomorrow. And then push, pull, and disqualification. Absolutely good. You have to give her some negative polarity because otherwise all the positive doesn't mean anything. Also because whenever you push away, that actually does communicate high value. Communicates a willingness to lose. Yeah?
Sorry, is there ways that you can practice like I can get better and practice disqualification any way that you learned it?
I practice it a lot in set.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beyond that, if you really want to, here's an exercise you can do for push-pull. Or push-pull and disqualification, but it's more for push-pull. Flip on a TV or flip on YouTube or whatever. First video you see, first person you see, say the first thing that comes to mind. And then, if it was positive, follow it up with a negative. If it was negative, follow it up with a positive. Right? So, for example, I could be like, you're very attentive. Clearly you need a lot of help. Right? Does that make sense? Right? So his first thing is a positive that I said, so then follow it up with a negative. Or I'd be like, this guy in the back, I love your jacket. It's very fucking like, what are those guys that shot up the school? It's like them. Right? Right? I forget what they were called. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's a positive and then a negative. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So the idea is you just say the first thing that comes to your mind and then adjust it. And again, it's a TV or it's YouTube, so you don't worry about offending them, right? Yeah. Just spit words. Just make it a habit. And then you get to the point where you could theoretically do positive, negative. Like North Carolina, it's a good school, but you know, Duke's better. I'm sorry, I have to tell you. Oh, fuck you. So I like that. I like that because you have attitude, but clearly you need to learn to use your words a little bit better, but it's cool though. I mean, I appreciate that. You're trying though, you're trying. And I appreciate effort. Intelligence is better, but effort's good, right? So positive, negative, positive. So you should eventually be able to do like push, pull, push, pull, push, pull, just ad nauseum and get to that level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.